Hello everyone, welcome back to Scratch. This is the second video tutorial for your Skywars project, and in this tutorial we're going to learn how to add competition as well as rewards into our game today. Okay, so let's get started. Now once you have opened up your Skywars project from the previous video tutorial, you need to load in your templates of the sprite that you have downloaded from eCampus. Okay, so I'm going to just upload my enemy sprite first. We're going to do one sprite at a time. Okay, now I'm going to do a simple code for my enemy sprite just to get it in motion. So I'm going to use my green flag click block. When green flag click, I am going to set its initial size to 20. Okay, and then forever, I'm going to make it do a costume change. So there's a bit of animation there. Okay, and of course, add a little bit of wait time before the next costume appears. Okay, now I'm going to give a code to my enemy sprite such that it can move automatically around the game screen on its own, but I will limit it just to the right side of the screen. So I'm going to pull out another green flag click block. Okay, when green flag click, forever, I want my enemy sprite to glide. 1 second to, I'm going to limit the X and Y position range. So X equals to, pick a random, 50 to 200. So this means that our enemy sprite will be floating around this range of the game screen on the right, as well as our Y is going to pick a random value between 150, it's a bit long, 150 to minus 150. The reason why is because for Y, our enemy sprite can move up and down into the positive and negative ranges. Okay, so there's a slight difference here. Once done, I'm going to give it a bit of a wait time before it moves to the next random position. Okay, now just to make sure that our enemy sprite doesn't move and get stuck at the edge of the screen, I'm going to add in an additional code. So when green flag is clicked, I am going to forever set its rotation style to don't rotate so that it doesn't turn around. And if it touches the edge of the screen, bounce off. Okay, so this is our starting code for our enemy sprite. Now let's get started with our bullet sprite. We're going to code it such that our player and enemy sprite can start shooting each other. So there's a bit of competitive element there. So I'm going to upload the two bullet sprite that I have now. You can also choose to actually create all of your sprites on your own. Okay, that's entirely up to you. So I got my player bullet sprite there. I'm also going to upload my enemy bullet sprite. Okay, all right. Now we see them nicely. We're going to start coding for them. Let me start with the player bullet sprite first. Okay, so my player bullet sprite, I'm going to set a starting code for this to fix the size. On green flag click, I'm going to set the size to about 30%. And I don't want my bullet sprite to appear at the start. I'm going to hide it first. So hide it. Okay, now forever, this is what's going to happen. This bullet sprite is only going to be controlled by my player sprite whenever I press the keyboard spacebar. Okay, so forever, if my sprite senses that I am pressing the spacebar key, then it's going to play a sound and create a clone of itself. Okay, so I'm going to make a sound for this. Go to the sound tab. I'm going to choose a laser sound. Okay, let's use this one, laser 2. Okay, and then I'm going to code it in. So if my spacebar is pressed, I'm going to play the shooting sound. And then I'm going to create a clone of this bullet because we want many clones to appear whenever I press the spacebar. Okay, create a clone of myself, and then I'm going to give it a bit of wait time before the next clone appears, if I do control it. Okay, let's do about 0.5 seconds. All right, now let's do the clone code. When our bullet starts as a clone, first thing I will want it to do is to animate it. So if you notice under your bullet clones, it actually has two costumes that can be switched. So I'm going to animate this costume. So when I start as a clone, forever, I will want to switch to the next costume. Okay, now let's do the movement path. Again, I'm going to do a clone start block. When I start as a clone, I'm going to start by going to the player sprite. Okay, and don't forget to add a forever because we always want this to happen. Sorry, no forever in this case. Okay, this will come later. Whenever I start as a clone, I will always go to the player sprite first. And then once I reach the player sprite, I am going to show myself. Okay, I'm going to make the bullets show. And then forever, okay, I will keep moving to the right until I reach the edge of the game screen or touch the enemy. Okay, so for this is how I will code it. Repeat until, I'm going to bring out an operator, an OR block. Repeat until I am sensing that I am touching the edge of the screen. Let me just pull this down a bit so you can see it better. Or if I'm touching the enemy, then what I will do is I will move, keep moving. Okay? Change X by 10. So change X by 10 means I will keep moving to the right side of the screen. Alright? Now, I'm going to add on some more. What happens if I touch the edge and the enemy? I'm going to make my clone bullets disappear. So let's do the coding for this. When I start as a clone, forever, if I do touch the edge of the screen, okay, if I do touch the edge of the screen, then I'm going to delete my clone. Okay, so under the control block, there is a delete clone block. Okay, now I'm going to duplicate this one to do one for touching enemy. If touching enemy, then I will also delete myself. Okay, so this is the completed code for our player bullet sprite to work. So let's test this out. Press the space bar and automatically you'll be able to launch your bullet codes and make them. Okay, now let's move on to our enemy bullet sprite. Basically, for the enemy bullet sprite, it's very similar to the workings of the player bullet sprite. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to copy the entire player bullet sprite code all into the enemy bullet sprite. So how do I do this? Very simply, click and drag each code over the enemy bullet sprite until it shakes, then drop it in. Okay, do it for all the other codes. Okay, now let's go to our enemy bullet sprite and automatically you should see all your codes here. So just very carefully bring them apart so you can check and make sure that you've got all your codes there. Okay, I think I'm missing one more code, so I'm going to move that there. Missing the small one. Okay, now all done. Let's check. Alright, so I'm going to modify the enemy bullet sprite code from here. On green flag click, we're going to fix its size to 30, hide itself first, so it works the same way as the player bullet sprite. But I'm going to delete the operation here. So instead of being activated on a key press, it's going to be automated. So I'm going to give it a wait time. Forever, we're going to wait for a random timing between 1 to 1.5 seconds. Alright, before our enemy bullet sprite makes a clone of itself. Okay, create a clone of myself. Okay, and as I create a clone of myself, I also want to add a sound effect. So let's go to the sound tab. We're going to add a laser sound for our enemy bullet as well. This one, laser one. Okay, so I'm going to just add this laser one sound just before the clone creation block. Okay, now when I start as a clone, instead of going to the player, now this is the enemy bullet clone. I'm going to start by moving from the enemy. So go to the enemy first, show myself forever, I'm going to change my X by -10 because for the enemy bullet sprite, it's going to move towards the player sprite to the left. So that will be -10 instead. Repeat until touching the edge of the screen or touching the player. Okay, so some changes here. I'm not going to change this small code. This is okay. Now, when I start as a clone, my bullet sprite is going to touch the edge and delete its clone self. And if it touches the player, it is also going to delete its clone self. Okay, so this is the completed enemy bullet clone. So let's test this out. Pressing the green flag will allow my bullet sprite to be automated and come out at random time intervals. Okay? Alright, so this is the first part of our video tutorial. So we have added in the competition elements, but we haven't introduced the competition yet. So let's do that by starting to add our variables. So I'm going to go to the enemy sprite to do this. Okay, go to your variable block. Okay, we're going to make a variable. We're going to start with the health variable first. So let's do a health variable for our player. Player health. Okay, and I'm also going to do a variable for our enemy health. Okay. Alright, so you will see the indicators on your game screen now. I'm going to just shift the enemy health indicator to the right side of the screen. Okay, now let's start coding for this. Let's start with our player health first. Okay, so when green flag is clicked, alright, I'm going to set my player health, okay, to about 30. I'm going to give about 30 health points to my player. And then I'm also going to set my enemy health, give it some points. Let's do about 20. Okay, because the enemy moves faster. So I'm going to give it some disadvantage here. Okay, now let's do some interaction for our bullet sprite so that it can interact with the health points. I'm going to start with my player bullet sprite. Okay, so very simply for player bullet sprite, if it's touching the enemy, then I'm going to, before I delete the clone, I'm going to change the enemy health by -1. I'm going to deduct 1 enemy health point before I delete myself. Okay, and I'm going to add another condition. Alright, once the enemy health and the player health becomes 0, there's no need for the bullets to appear anymore. So I'm going to freeze the bullet code. So how I'm going to do this? I'm going to add a very simple code. When green flag is clicked, forever, okay, going to pull out condition, if, and an operator, or, okay, I'm going to pull out an equal sign as well. Alright, if my enemy health equals to 0, okay, pop this into the first hole here. I'm going to duplicate this small box. Or if my player health equals to 0, then what's going to happen is that I'm going to stop all the code scripts within this sprite. Okay, I'm going to lock the bullet code. So go to control, look for a stop block, stop other scripts in sprite. Okay, so I'm done with the interaction for my player bullet sprite. I'm going to copy one of this code to my enemy bullet sprite. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one there because it's going to be the same. Drag it over to enemy bullet sprite. Once it's shake, let go, and then let's go there. Okay, now for enemy bullet sprite, okay, it will be stopped whenever any of the sprites have a 0 health point. But remember, I'm also going to have to deduct player health points if it touches it. So if touching player, then I'm going to change the player health by -1. Okay, so there's a slight difference here as well. Okay, now let's test this out. So you see that? Now the health points start getting deducted. Okay, so our code works. Alright, but let's introduce some feedback to the game. I'm going to jump back to my enemy sprite. I'm going to give some feedback here. Okay, so when green flag click, alright, forever, I'm going to add a condition. If equal sign, if my enemy health, okay, if the enemy sprite senses that its health point is 0, then it's going to tell me that I win. So it's going to say, you win. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to add a bit of a pause time. So wait about 0.5 seconds, okay, before it changed its instruction to tell me that, oh, so if I win, if I want to play the game again, I can click the green flag. So I'm going to add another say block to say, click the green flag to play again. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to add another wait control. All right, before I finally stop all the other scripts in this code, because there's no point for the enemy to move anymore if it dies. Okay. All right. Okay, so I got a feedback for enemy health equals to 0. Let's add a feedback for when player health equals to 0 as well. So I'm going to duplicate this block. Okay, when green flag click, forever if my player health now equals to 0, then the answer is you lose. And click the green flag to play again. Okay, so very simple. Let's test this out. Okay, I'm going to play until one of the health points of one of the sprites reaches 0. There it is. So this is our feedback. So now I know what instructions I need to follow for me to restart the game. Okay, I'm going to pause it here. Now we're going to add a time variable to increase the competition factor. Okay, I'm going to create a time variable inside the enemy sprite as well. So make a new variable for time. Okay, and I'm going to set an initial time under this block. Okay, set time to 30 seconds. I'm going to give myself 30 seconds for the entire game. Okay, now how do we do a countdown timer for this Scratch game? Very simple coding. When green flag is clicked, forever, okay, we're going to wait 1 second, and after each second, we are going to change the time by -1. So what this actually does is this code makes your timer become a countdown timer. It will -1 second each after each second passes. Okay, so this is a very simple code. We are not going to test this out now, but I want to add a feedback for this as well. So if my time equals to 0 and if none of the sprites have a 0 health point, I'm just going to end my game with a game over. Okay, so with that, I'm going to duplicate one of the feedback code that I've already created earlier. Okay, this is going to be our feedback for time equals to 0. So I'm going to substitute some of the blocks here. So forever, if time equals to 0, then say game over. All right, wait 0.5 seconds, say click the green flag to play again, wait 0.5 seconds. Instead of stop other scripts in Sprite, I'm going to lock the whole game. So stop all the code. Okay, so this is how you can create a time variable as well for game over with a feedback. Okay, now lastly, we have created our competition in our game already. We're going to add in one last element to our project. We're going to create a reward sprite. Okay, so in our game, let's say our player is struggling to stay alive. I want to give it some reward so that it motivates me to keep playing the game. So I'm going to create a health pack for this, and I already have a template, so I'm going to upload that template here and then show you the coding. Okay, so let me just find my template. Okay, there it is. So our health pack sprite is a little heart shape. Let's start the coding for this. I'm going to start by setting some basic size controls. When green flag is clicked, I am going to set the size of my heart to be 15%. Okay, and then I don't want my health pack to appear right at the start. I'm going to make it a little challenging. It's going to appear later after some time. So I'm going to make it hide itself first. Okay, then forever, it's going to wait for a random time interval. So I'm going to let Scratch pick the time interval for me. Pick random, 8 to about 10 seconds before it finally chooses a random position to go to. And then once it has chosen its position, then it will finally show itself. Okay, now let's make it more interesting. Let's add some interaction here. Okay, when green flag is clicked, forever, this is what I want my health pack to do whenever it touches the player. If it touches my player sprite, okay, I am going to make it hide itself immediately upon contact. Okay, it's going to play a little sound effect. So let's add a sound for this. I'm going to choose a magic spell sound. Okay, go back to your code. Alright, if it touches the player sprite, it's going to hide itself, play the sound magic spell, and then it's going to change my player health point by 1. So it's going to increase my player health point. So this is sort of a reward for me. Okay? And we're going to make it a bit more exciting. Instead of a static health pack, we're going to make it rotate and turn around. So let's add a simple code for this. When green flag is clicked, forever, we are going to make it turn 15 degrees each time. Okay? Alright, so this is our entire completed code for our whole project. Let's test this entire game out. I'm going to expand the screen so you can see it clearly. Let's go. Oops, I might have clicked on one code. I'm going to just click on the space here. There we go. So my time is running. I have to shoot down enemy. Yay, now I have collected my reward sprite. I've gained a reward point. Okay, and then you see that it takes some time for the reward sprite to appear. If I collect it, I do have an increased health point. Alright, so game over. That was my feedback, and this is the completed game. Okay, so let's see what else you can do here. If you are confused by the amount of instructions I have, don't worry. Go to eCampus, download the code summary, and from there you can immediately start your coding. Okay, have fun with your project. See what else you can do to modify elements or maybe add more rewards and competition. Okay, see you in the next tutorial to create more effects.